Hi everyone, happy Monday. So now we're going to check in on what happened today with Trump's tariffs and what that got us. We discussed last night to read the fine print on these tariffs, on both the UK deal and the China deal, which even though our trade representative said they had reached a deal, I said, not so fast. Let's see what that deal is tomorrow. Well, now we know more, okay? We know that although Trump went into these talks with China saying maybe we'll go from 145% tariffs, which is essentially an embargo, closing our economies to each other, that he said maybe we'll go down to 80%, that what basically Trump did, for lack of better words, is he retreated in both deals. The first deal with the UK is a quasi deal because, again, most of our trade with the UK is in services. But in our deal with China, I want to tell you exactly what we gained from all of this rigmarole that Trump has put us through. Zero. That is the benefit to the United States for Trump's trade wars. Let me give you some headlines from Wall Street today. This is Bloomberg. Xi Jinping's decision to stand his ground against Donald Trump could hardly have gone any better for the Chinese leader. That's the headline at Bloomberg. At Wall Street Journal, China has successfully called Trump's bluff. Another pundit said Trump has basically negotiated with himself. And another pundit said Monday's news will be taken as a win for China. In the New York Times, this is the Scott Kennedy, a China expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, said, quote, the Geneva Agreement represents an almost complete U.S. retreat that vindicates Xi's decision to forcefully retaliate. So here we are, folks. This is not exactly what you call winning. This is called capitulation and putting our economy, small businesses, consumers, into a state of disarray to lose for nothing. We have gained nothing. People will say, well, the stock market went up today, and it did go up today, but we are still well below where the stock market was when Biden took office. Our stability as a global economy and as the perceived exceptionalism of the United States has been tarnished, and you don't get that back. Even if the dollar recovers and even if bond yields recover and investors start to put money back into those, the amount of money coming into the U.S. stock market has gone down significantly. People are afraid to invest in our country. And why? Because we have put all the power to decide with one man. And that one man took us on this journey with so-called Liberation Day now a month and a half ago. It was a road to nowhere. There is no benefit to us. We could have done tariffs. There could have been a well thought of plan on a one-on-one basis with certain countries. Biden has done that. Trump did that during the first time. Instead, there was this blanket mayhem that has backfired for Trump. And he needs a win. I'll tell you why. Because the kakistocracy that is the Trump regime, for example, let's talk about our airports. What was one of the first things that we cut under Elon Musk's so-called Doge? FAA workers, including air traffic control workers. So you can blame it on Biden, you can blame it on Pete Buttigieg, but guess what? It's yours now. You own it. You wanted to cut employees in all these federal agencies. You want to cut FEMA and get rid of FEMA. Then when there's problems, when there are storms and states need help, like Arkansas, you have Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her state begging for help because you've gutted these agencies and took away funding which you didn't have a right to do. So what better way to distract from the fact that you're making billions personally on crypto, distract from the lack of progress on what you promised us was going to be day one, ending the Russia-Ukraine war. Well, we're not on day one anymore. We also haven't ended the Gaza war. All of these promises, immigration, vastly underperforming what you would say you could do. So this whole liberation, well, this was Trump feeling unleashed. It has fallen flat. This China capitulation, what does it mean for us going back to the economy? It means we are still in the middle of this storm. We are perhaps, if we are talking baseball terms, we are perhaps in the second or third inning. So if you're thinking because of this deal that just kicked the can down the road and Trump capitulated, got us out of the forest, absolutely not. Inflation is coming. Apple today, there was reports at the Wall Street Journal that Apple is likely going to raise the price of their iPhone in the fall. Car companies have already told us that because of tariffs, they're going to be raising prices. Other shipped goods, even if China is 30% plus 10%, even if we've gone from 145 to 30% plus the 10%, it's still going to impact us once the goods get here. Everything is going to be more expensive and inflationary. Our economy is slowing. People don't want to travel here. And the problem is uncertainty remains. If you are a business, if you are a small business, you're just trying to scramble to stay alive. You know, you're borrowing against your kids' 529 plans. You're borrowing against your 401k. You've had to lay off workers. If you're a big company, like you're an Apple or an AMD, or how can you plan, or GM or Ford? This man wakes up one day and decides, oh, I've gone from 140 to 30. I mean, based on what? Based on what? What are we doing here? There's no rhyme or reason. So the uncertainty remains. The markets hate uncertainty. We're probably in the second or third inning of what is going to be a painful process, sadly. And this is the key. It didn't have to happen. This was all imposed on our economy by Donald Trump. When he took office, our country, our economy was the envy of the world. Whatever your opinion is on politics, Biden versus Trump, you can't argue with the numbers. 65% of all capital flows were going into U.S. equities. Now that number is decreasing. Investment is going into Europe. Investment is going into the Far East. It is coming out of our stock market. We are a less stable economy. We are a more uncertain economy. We are less exceptional because of one man, his ill understanding of the economy, and him surrounding himself, with the exception of possibly Besant, with the clown car of an economic team. Let's face it, Peter Navarro, please. So stay tuned. We'll keep talking about developments, but we are hardly out of this storm. And if you're an investor, play it as such.